Welcome, everyone, to the Ohio Fly Tying Guild. I'm Gary Begley, and the Guild is a function of the Buckeye United Fly Fishers. It's my local fly fishing club, Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's in conjunction with the Ohio Council of Fly Fishers International. Now, this session, what I was planning on doing is working with biots. We'll use biots for tail material. We use them for wing material, and also use it for a body material, more specifically an abdomen on a nymph. Now, for those of you that are wondering what in the world is a biot, come on over to the bird cam and I'll show you. This is the top half of a turkey wing, not the tail feathers. It's the primary flight feather. That's where birds keep their biots, and the biot would be this small portion over here. In fact, I'll get this last one out. And if you notice, it's going to be important for me to rip that off as opposed to cutting it off smooth. And I'll explain that to you. Here's the fly that we're going to tie, a Biot Nymph. It's a chain Stalcup pattern. It's close to that. I have made some tweaks here and there. Got some things different, but we utilize the Biot to get this rib section in here. You guys see where we're going with it? There's another one. You might be able to see the ribs a little better here. If we tie the biot in one particular direction, we'll get those ribs. If we tie it in the opposite direction, it'll just be a smooth body. We'll get the hook in the vise. I'm going to use just any standard scud style hook. It's going to work fine. Actually, you can tie this, and the original pattern was tied on a straight shank hook. And every time I tie it on a straight shank hook, people immediately recognize it and say, "Oh, well, you're tying a beta nymph," which, well, that's right. But I like it on a curved hook, much better. So I use an 1120 Daiichi. Tonight I'm using a size 14. You can go 14 down to 22 if you can see that small to get it done, and find a biot that'll work. It's a 2X heavy and wide gape. It says gape, not gap. Real good hook. They do also make another hook that's not heavy. It's a light wire, so it wouldn't go down in the water column quite as quickly. Get the hook in the vise. I'm going to use whatever thread you like, whatever color, frankly. I'm going to use dark brown uni thread. I like to go to uni thread whenever I'm going to be dubbing. We'll be dubbing the thorax area. I'll run a smooth thread base. I'm also going to be using some partridge. Show you where I'm getting the partridge feather. Here's a whole skin. And well, actually, since I've got the whole bird over here, show you here's the primary flight feather. This would be the wing. This would be one of the primary flight feathers. And I don't know if you can see very well, but it's got the biots. Now this little piece fell off the skin, and it just happens to be the type of feathers out of here that I'd like to use. I like the ones with the brown tips on the end for some coloration. So we'll be using one of those. And I'm going to use it for the tail material. And I'm going to use it for the legs. These little guys have some of them have an aftershaft feather. I'm going to save that along with my other ones. If you checked out last month's, I talked about the after last month's session. I talked about the after shaft feathers and how I save those. I'm sure there's going to be a pattern pops up that I'll need that with. Move over to the device camera again. You guys will be able to see better what I'm doing, perhaps, if I can stay on camera. The way I prepare this, I'm going to bring these longer fibers back, and this is where I'm going to get my tail. My small Hackle pliers, and bring all these fibers back. Barbs, I should be saying, instead of fibers. Now, I'm going to get rid of this front portion. Don't need that. That's going to be my legs. One on each side. Get in a better position so you guys can see. Now, you'll be able to see when I get to that point in the fly. So I'm simply going to take off a few of these guys for the tail. That looks like a pretty good tail. I like to go roughly the hook gape size, maybe slightly longer. Let thread torque take it up on top. Shorten it up a little. There's one that just doesn't want to play it correctly. So he's out of here. Get all of him. Did now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this down as an underbody. Just build up a bit of bulk. This up about to the point where the abdomen is going to start. The thorax, pardon me, is going to start. All right, first that's going to be covered up. Not a problem. So I'm going to come back about probably halfway about to where the hook point is. And get my biot. What we plucked off a while ago. Get rid of these little curlies. Now, the reason I pulled it off as opposed to cutting it off, hopefully you can see that little notch that's in there. This side comes across straight, this side goes down. Little notch right there, that notch. I want to start it off toward the rear of the fly and pointing down. Now, that might sound backwards as to the, because we want this start portion under here to be on the rear. But whenever I start to wrap, it's going to fold over and that'll be in the correct position. These are pretty fragile, especially out here at the tip. So don't be surprised if I snap one before this is finished. Bobbin and thread out of the way. See the ribs starting to pop up. I like to use my hand until I make sure I got things twisting in the right direction. Since it is pretty short, I do switch to Hackle pliers, obviously. And keep these segments nice and even. Bobbin holder out of the way. Hold my thread out of the way with my finger. And get this cut fairly close. Get closer than that, but it really doesn't matter because that's going to be buried underneath the dubbing. Now, I need a wing case. And if you noticed on the fly that I showed you over here, the wing case on that is real shiny. It is a material called Medallion sheeting. I have some here, but they apparently quit making it. Well, I'm sure they did, at least for a while, quit making it. Kind of like Swiss straw. Swiss straw would work fine for this purpose. From what I understand, somebody picked up on this patent or bought it, or they started making a little bit different style of medallion. Sheeting. Thin skin would work just as well. If you're familiar with that product, those will all be shiny. And I started thinking, well, maybe in some instances that might be good, but then others, maybe I want something dull. So for this fly, I did a little experimentation, and I started using some pheasant tail. Basically the same as using as tying a pheasant tail nymph. I'm going to use this for the wing case. And frankly, I like the way it looks. Problem using synthetics, I do all the time. Seems to me that and maybe it's just me, maybe a confidence matter, but I seem to do better, especially for trout, if I'm utilizing a fly that is not utilizing any synthetic. All right, we need some dubbing, and I chose Possum. Possum. It's natural brown is what I chose. I like the way it looks on there, and I can use my Velcro brush, and I use the term bugs up real nice. And scrub it up with the Velcro, and it makes a nice buggy looking underside. Don't need a lot. Just build up a little thorax area. It needs to be a little bit larger diameter than the abdomen, of course. Leave room up front because I got to tie off this wing case. And I've got to put in some wings. Actually, in the opposite order, I'm going to put in not wings, my legs. I'm going to put legs in and then tie off the wing case. So I need a little bit of real estate up front here. Now, I have one of these that I already prepared. That was a Hungarian Partridge feather. And I cut out the tip like I showed you guys and stripped off the rest of them. So all I have to do is set that right there. There's, excuse me, there's a set of legs. You can push them down. You can leave them out to the side. I kind of like the way it looks with them out to the side. I do have, looks like I trapped one, trapped something out here. Get rid of that. Okay. Bring the wing case over. I like to hold them down with my thumb. Spin the thread counterclockwise. That way it go up and it runs right down off my thumbnail. Lost a couple. All right. Leave myself a lot of room for a wet finish, but we'll get one in there. Get the rest of that out. I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Okay. So there's first fly, a Biot Nymph. Any questions or comments?
Gary, that bobbin that you're using, is that a Nor bobbin by chance?
I'm sorry?
Is that bobbin that you're using a Nor bobbin?
No, it's a right bobbin, R-I-T-E.
Okay,
The ones that's
got it. Yep.
got the that's actually a screw that tightens down and you can control the tension on the spool thread with that. Actually, I use these just about all the time. Gotten a habit. I enjoy them. They fit my hand well, and that's what I've been using. All right.
Gary, was the turkey biot a natural color?
I doubt it. Let me get the package. It doesn't say. Um, it just says brown. But I've got one down here that says Calabata. I'm thinking that's not natural. And I'm thinking the pale olive is not natural. So it probably has been dyed. You have to answer your questions. Because it does look very dry or very dark. We'll get back over to the bird cam. Does look awful dark and solid color. So we'll go with dyed.
Do you ever coat the wing case with anything?
I normally don't. However, you could. Some fingernail polish, Sally Hansen's UV resin, of course, comes to mind. And I normally don't have any problems with them coming loose. All right. Well, that said, I will go ahead and get to the second fly, which I'll show you right now. Probably most of you recognize that as a bead head Prince Nymph. It's got the biots, and I was able to use goose biots on this one. Again, they're a lot shorter than the turkeys, and they fit fine here. Plenty long enough for this fly. The tails are brown ones and white ones for the wings. A little bit of hen saddle here, some peacock and oval gold tinsel, medium size for this size fly, which will be a size 10. If anybody, again, as always, anybody has a question, just shout them out. Get rid of this fly. That goes in my box. So I'll be using, like I said, a size 10. Daiichi 1710. It's a 2X long, 1X strong nymph hook. And I got a proper size bead for it. This particular size is going to be a 5/32 for this hook. And I'm using a little bit of lead on this one. So I got 25 thousandths diameter lead wound on. I got about 10 wraps. And it's up inside. I shoved it up inside the bead. And the thread, you can use any color thread you want, black, brown, whichever. I like to use red, because in the end, it'll give me that red band up here, which may or may not help as far as fishing. So at that rate, we're pleasing the fisherman, me, as opposed to the fish. Maybe it will work at a hot spot. I don't know. So I'm going to come back to the barb. Which is right there. And I'm going to use 2 of the brown goose biots. For the tails. You can tell they're shorter than a turkey. Get 2 up here. And I don't really need to pull them off. I'm just in that habit. Because I don't need to be concerned about the rib on this one, but I do want to be concerned about the curve. There you can see I've got both of them, both curves go in the same direction. I don't want that. These have a natural curve, just like most all actual feathers. Let me get these lined up properly off camera. I'm looking for a V shape similar to that. And I like this to be about, the tails to be about at the hook shank or so. I like to put them both on at the same time. Slide them both down over the hook shank. Pull them toward me. Let thread torque take them up on top. Thread torque took it past top. This is an excellent time to make sure I've got the same length tail on both of them. It looks about like that. Spin my thread a little bit, cord it up, so to speak, so I can get some more bite, if you will. I like to cut these off so they end about where the lead starts. Not really that critical because we're using Peacock curls for the body material. I like to try to keep a smooth body. Now, on the way back down, I tie in my rib material, little gold tinsel. Tie this in underneath the hook shank. That way, when I start to wrap, it just starts wrapping around the body. I'm not going to counter wrap it. It doesn't mess with my tails. Go ahead and scoot up just a little bit. This fly, this size fly, I should say, I like 6 peacock curl. I've got them gathered here and bundled and ready to go. I'm going to tie them in by the butts. Way forward. I'm going to gather them all together. I'm not going to worry about wrapping the thread around it or anything. Although that might be kind of a neat effect with the red thread. Twisting it around the peacock. In order to keep this peacock from spreading out, the different herls spreading out along the hook shank, I'm giving it just a slight twist every time I come around the hook. And I've kept them all together, as you see. Okay, so there's the body. And I'm going to wrap the rib. Going it that way. All right, so this one isn't going to be counter wrap. My utility scissors, get that chopped off. Make sure my tails are still splayed out. I need a little bit of pin saddle I'm going to use for the beard, I'll refer to it as. I gather about that much. Since I have rotary vise, instead of trying to turn it or tie it on the bottom, I'll just invert the hook and tie it on that way. Carefully get rid of this extra without cutting off the whole bunch. Now, I need a little bit of a platform. With a thread base in order to get my wings tied on. And the wings are going to be two more. These are white goose biots. Thought that was two. Apparently not. Again, these have got a natural curve to them. These down that way. That curves up. That curves down. That's what I want. I want the length to be about halfway to the tail. Hold my thread up. Just two somewhat loose turns. Hold things in place. This needs to be the same length as that one. Now, that was two in that one bunch. So, one of these got to go. It'll be that one. I don't want three wings. Pattern calls for two. It looks good with two. I want three. And build up a little band of thread here.
Could have kept the third one and used it around a nuclear reactor.
Oh, okay. That's a good suggestion. Do you have one?
No, they won't. They don't like nuclear reactors here in Australia.
Okay. All right, wings turned out a little flatter than I was anticipating, but that fly, as they say, will fish just fine. Now, a lot of you have tied with me a lot in the past, and I'm sure you all remember me saying, well, I don't ever need to use head cement. With a properly tied foot finish, and I don't. But this fly, with that band, of thread on top, and as slippery as the biots are, I like to put some head cement right there. So there's a beadhead yield version of a Prince Nymph. Any other questions or comments? Any questions about time with biots in general? I might have answered a question or two, I hope.
Yeah, that helps.
Good. A little bit of trial and error. Paying attention to the, again, just pull it off the off of the feather and look for the notch and figure out which way is going to work for you. With the notch turned down or turned up. That's assuming you tie on the side of the hook.
It's a good looking fly.
Thanks. Of course, I can only take credit for that one. Didn't create it, of course. All right. Anybody else have any comments, questions? You're making it awful easy on me. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up for the guild this month. Hopefully we'll be able to see you next month as well.